All right, so the next thing, if we jump back to our HTML, we have our form here inside our page wrapper, and it's Ajaxified through locomotive upload there. But the Ajax is not the main thing. The Ajax improves usability of the page. It's not what actually does the upload. What does the upload is a combination of the PHP and this. So we have a field in this form. There's our input type, varchar. And then this is the ID of the column in the database. This just names our field. And that has to be in reference to the post method. Notice it's referenced up here along with our columns.php file. Post method is not loved by all programmers, essentially. A lot of people think it's crude, but I'm using it here because it's the easiest to implement. So how do you implement post in PHP? Well, first of all, we have the ID, road number, for the column in the table. The table will be locomotives. And you'll see where we put that in a second. Strangely enough, this particular program, I was taught to specify the column before I specify the table, but you'll see how all that works in a minute. So you have the column and the form name. We jump back and we will implement our posts. But first of all, we need a variable, because every time somebody enters a road number, it will be a different road number, ideally. Or it might be the same locomotive in a different location. So we need a variable. So $road_number, basically in line with PHP practice for naming variables. Then we put in the post. You code a post like this, uppercase like that, and then in square brackets, road number. So that's the ID of the column. Now I'm going to jump ahead here to explain how this works a little bit more understandably. So following this assignment, you actually put an SQL query into your PHP code. And this illustrates partly how PHP is designed to be used with MySQL for the most part. It's its primary use on the internet, you could argue. So all we have to do is put in this MySQL query, no special open tags, and then connect. There's our variable for connecting to the database. And then we just open double quotes, and then we can just write SQL, straight SQL, as I illustrated earlier. But here we're using the insert command, not the create, because we're inserting data into a pre-existing table. Our table, locomotives. And then, parentheses, road number. Strangely enough, this doesn't have to be in quotes. So that's our column mentioned here. And you will ask inevitably, well, how does it know to put the data from the form into that column? Well, the next bit of code, the next thing is we hit return indent. I don't know if the indentation is absolutely necessary. It's just for better form. So we're still in SQL here, so we're not going to leave our parentheses yet. We're going to still be coding behind it. So values. Now these are what will make up the row or the data entry in the database. So the values, we open parentheses again. This time we will use quotes, and we will use that stand-in up there for the variable road number. And because we are now finished with our HTML, we close the double quotes. This is why we're using double quotes and not single quotes, incidentally. Let me double check one other thing. Forgot to get rid of this one. Because here's how it works. MySQL query, connect to the database, open double quotes, put in your SQL, which includes these entries in parentheses. So it's parentheses within parentheses. Then you close your double quotes. Then you close your original parentheses. Then you put in your semicolon. And that's your code. That can actually be rather confusing. One of the disadvantages to languages like PHP, which use a lot of brackets, is that you can forget your brackets very easily. So this is the bane of people who have to code in C and Java, as opposed to people who have to code in Python. Thankfully, PHP is sort of in the middle. And you can see that there's a pretty legitimate reason for building it in this way, because you have so many variables within so many variables that all of these parentheses and quotes serve a purpose. Okay, now, before I move on, I'm going to have to fill out these fields, because we're actually not done. So reporting marks will be done the same as the road number. That was stupid. Location, not date. Getting ahead of myself here. All right, so there are all our variables from the form for our post method to be implemented. Now I have to update the SQL here. So it means I have to add the columns here, and then I have to add the variables down here.